Well, out of all the issues discussed by the presidential candidates, voters say that the most important is the economy. In a CBS News New York Times poll, 38% of registered voters picked the economy over national security and health care as the issue that they care about the most in today's election. Joining us now, Jill Schlesinger, who's going to talk the markets with us. Jill, there's been this common sense on Wall Street that if Donald Trump comes in, it's sort of against the poll numbers. We see Hillary Clinton with a 4-point lead, that somehow the markets are going to tank. Is that a crazy analogy to have?
Well, the thing is that when you look at the market trend of the last few weeks, you do see that stock investors would prefer a Hillary Clinton presidency. As her poll numbers were trending better, markets were creeping higher. We have that FBI letter that comes out a week and a half ago Friday, right? And all of a sudden, the markets are down 3% over the course of 9 sessions. We have the resolution of that matter on Sunday. Yesterday, markets jumped by 2.2%. So what's at the core here is that the investment community is quite concerned about 2 cornerstones of Donald Trump's platform. Number one, this idea of ripping up trade agreements is very destabilizing to a lot of big companies that are here in the U.S., but also across the world. Then number two, immigration. Now, it's very interesting. When you talk to a lot of the business owners out there, smaller owners might have different views on this. Big businesses, they like immigration. And in fact, if you look at the Chamber of Commerce, it has been very strongly advocating for immigration reform. So put those 2 things together and you see that investors, stock investors specifically, very much nervous about what a Donald J. Trump presidency would mean.
But why is there a divide? 51%, according to a CBS News poll, 51% of people polled say they actually think Donald Trump will be better with the economy. So why is there a divide between Wall Street and folks on the ground?
Well, I mean, look, people on the ground hear certain things and it sounds good, but there's nothing to back it up. And let me give you a case in point. This has been kind of driving me nuts throughout the election, which is no matter what, we have this whole hyper focus on manufacturing. I understand that manufacturing jobs have been lost due to globalization, but the idea that someone's going to bring manufacturing jobs back, a Democrat or a Republican, that is just not going to happen. And the more important issue that's facing manufacturers, guess what? If any jobs are created here, they're being created for robots. How are we upgrading our workforce? And one of the things that I think has been a real oversight by both candidates is, hey, manufacturing is 12% of the U.S. economy. 88% is service sector. How are we raising wages for the service sector employees in this country? There's far more people that are employed by service sector than manufacturing.
Yeah, that's the big question, Jill. A lot of people, harp on those words that Donald Trump says about ripping up some of these trade deals without realizing that in the long run, that will actually hurt the U.S. economy. The other issue that he's talked about is imposing tariffs on countries that are seeking to import their goods here into the country. Now, it's interesting to me because that doesn't seem to be, Republicans generally embrace the free market. That is not the free market. What about also his comments that he will tell CEOs that they can't open up plants overseas? That, again, spooks Wall Street.
Absolutely. And let's bring that, kind of boil that down to the base level. Let's say you could do that, okay?
Yeah, let's say a president of the United States could call a corporate
like,
CEO.
Hello, Pepsi, Coke, no plants overseas.
Right.
Now what happens? Now, the earnings of that company, they start to get crimped, right? Because so many of our big companies are making money overseas. Now they say, you know what? We don't need as many people in our business here at home either because the business is just getting smaller. Can you imagine being a Trump voter who thought this was a great idea to rip up the NAFTA deal or any trade deal and then lose your job as a result of it? It's catastrophic.
And they, again, sort of when people think about this as a game of chess as opposed to a game of checkers, you realize that this would also hurt their retirement income because these companies, these mutual funds that own shares in these companies that all of a sudden now are being regulated by the executive branch of the presidency, their stock prices are going to go down, retirement income is going to go down, people are going to get hurt.
Jill, I want to ask you, though, we saw a major surge, a pretty big surge yesterday, 370 points in the stock market. What does that tell you about the outlook on the election?
Well, I mean, right now, the Wall Street community is really counting on Hillary Clinton winning. There was a piece of academic research released last week. Very interesting economists who looked at how did the Brexit vote go down, what was the aftermath, and they peg a Trump presidency with a short-term loss in the market value of 10 to 15%. Okay, that's scary. That's a big number. I get it. Remember, after Brexit, we had 5% loss in 2 sessions.
Right.
We recovered all of that ground. What we're really talking about is when you have an unexpected outcome, it freaks out the investment community. My biggest piece of advice, I'm putting my CFP hat on here, this is going to be a volatile time. Try not to jump into the market either way.
Regardless of who makes it into the market.
Although some of my Wall Street friends have said that if there is a Trump presidency, they're buying into the dip because they see a huge opportunity. They think that the market is efficient. And some people believe that the market will recover, even there's some scare, yesterday's blip, regardless. Market will recover because it is efficient at the end of the day. Do you agree?
I don't agree with market timing. So that's my biggest issue, because first of all, you'd have to have money freed up right now to do that. Let's say you don't. That means you've got to sell today and you've got an execute a buy at some point. You don't know when. My theory on this is market timing rarely pans out. So let's leave that. You want to be a hedge fund dude and roll the dice? Sure. But stick to your low-cost index funds. Don't mess around. Keep your head down. Do what you're supposed to do, and you will probably be okay.
Mama always told me, save your pennies for a rainy day.
Diversify and rebalance.
Don't save them. Put them in the market.
Right. Okay. Diversify and rebalance.
Invest. Tell your mom
That's what Aunt Jill's telling you today.
Jill Schlesinger, always great to have you. Thanks, Jill.
Thank you, Jill.